Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading 1 Samuel chapter 31. Now, the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines and fell down slain in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard upon Saul and upon his sons, and the Philistines slew Jonathan and Abinadab and Melchizedek, Saul's sons. And the battle went sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then Saul said unto his armor-bearer, Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through, and abuse me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword, and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword, and died with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men that same day together. And when the men of Israel that were on the other side of the valley, and they that were on the other side of Jordan, saw that the men of Israel fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, they forsook the cities and fled. And the Philistines came and dwelt in them. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head, and stripped off his armor, and sent into the land of the Philistines round about to publish it in the house of their idols and among the people. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. And when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard of that which the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose and went all night, and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan, and came to Jabesh, and burnt them there. And they took their bones and buried them under a tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. In the previous chapter, 1 Samuel 30, after being sent away from war, David and his men return to find their families captured and their land destroyed. They figure out the men who did this were the Amalekites. David and his men retrieve their goods and families and smite the Amalekites. This chapter, 1 Samuel 31, Israel is miserably defeated by the Philistines. Saul, his 3 sons, his assistant, and all of his men die. The Philistines decapitate Saul's corpse, took and displayed his armor in their pagan temple. The Philistines attached Saul and his sons' bodies to a city wall. Israel retrieves the bodies and buries them. 1 Samuel chapter 31 is the last chapter of this book, and the Second Samuel verse 1 is going to continue this action. Um, but from chapter 27 until 2 Samuel chapter 1, the storyline changes its focus. So just want to review. In chapter 27, because David is fleeing King Saul because King Saul is trying to kill him, just because he's very jealous and cowardly, David is completely the opposite. And after he defeated Goliath, he begins to have this jealousy of David where he's tried to kill him 3 times now. When we get to chapter 27, David has accepted that this is never going to end. King Saul is never going to stop trying to kill him. So he goes into the Philistine territory with King Achish and makes a deal that he can live on his territory. When we get to chapter 28, the storyline shifts from focusing on David to now focusing on King Saul. The Philistines are preparing to go to war with Israel, and this is an eternal adversarial relationship. The Philistines and the Israelites have always gone to war with each other, so this is just another time. But again, because Saul is such a coward, he is so fearful, um, he goes to God and he tries to get an answer from God. But we see in 1 Samuel 16, chapter 1 Samuel 16, verse 14, God had left Saul, and this was after Saul disobeyed God's command in 1 Samuel 15. So then Saul visits a sorceress in chapter 28. The sorceress tells him that he and his sons are going to die the next day, or channels Samuel the prophet who's died, and again tells him him and his sons are going to die the next day. We get to chapter 29, and the storyline shifts again back to David. Because David has been living on this Philistine territory, King Achish expects him to fight on the Philistine behalf. When him and his men prepare to go to war, The other Philistine leaders decide that they don't want David serving on their behalf because, well, most likely what's happened. We have to remember David has defeated Goliath with one stone, and Goliath was this huge man, fully armored, decorated war veteran, and he also had a bodyguard and he was armed. And David defeated him with a rock. David also led Israel to victory against the Philistines in a chapter after that. So, because David is an Israelite and this is the history, this is most likely the reason why the other Philistines did not trust David enough to have him fighting on behalf of the Philistines. So they tell King Ashish they want to send David away, so David returns home. When we get to chapter 30, this storyline continues with the focus on David. David and his men get back to Ziklag, and the Amalekites have destroyed their city and taken their women. David leads his men to retrieve it all, and he sends the war spoils to other people in Israel. He divides it fairly. Then we get to chapter 31, and now that storyline is focusing back now on Saul. So the Philistines and the Israelites go to war. The Philistines savagely decimate Israel. Saul and his 3 sons are all killed. Saul is injured badly. He begs his assistant to stab him so that the Philistines will not. Okay? And then Saul asks his armor bearer to go ahead and just stab him so that the Philistines can't find him and abuse him. The armor bearer wouldn't do it, so Saul fell on his own sword. Saul and all of his sons, or Saul, his 3 sons, his armor bearer, his troops all died together. The rest of the Israelites fled. The Philistines occupied their territory. And then the Philistines they decapitated Saul, stripped his body of the armor, took his armor and put it in a pagan temple, the Ashtaroths, and then they put his body, fastened it to the wall of the city. The Israelite group, Jabesh Gilead, went to this city, retrieved the body of Saul and their sons, and burned the bodies and then buried them. And then they fasted for 7 days. So, not quite sure why they had to burn the bodies. Um, but okay, that is 1 Samuel 31, and we will be looking at 2 Samuel 1 next. Thank you for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.